Namaste everyone. Keep your spine erect. Chin away from your chest. Eyes gently closed. Shift your eye gaze to the third eye, the center of the eyebrows, Jyotishmati, light of awareness within. Take a deep breath and exhale. We'll begin today's session with an opening chant. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome everyone for this weekly satsang. Why is a satsang? Where we are exploring the practical wisdom of Yoga Sutra, the yoga knowledge. And this is such a beautiful weekend on the eve of Shankara Jayanthi. You know, we are super thrilled and blessed to have Dr. Shriram Sarvotham ji with us. You know, today what we're going to do is we're going to explore the meaning of asana, one of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, and how it impacts, how the asana shapes and plays a pivotal role in our modern life. So with that, Shriram ji, you know, as always, you know, we'd love to open with a prayer. If there is anything, you know, your invocation of you know, Patanjali, and if anything that you want to, you know, share about Shankara, we would love to hear.
Thank you so much, Srini ji. So let me begin with the invocation chant of Maharishi Patanjali. Yastaktva rupamadyam prabhavati jagato nekada nugrahaya prakshina klesha rashir vishama vishadharo nekavaktra subhogi sarvajnana prasutir bhujaga parikaro pritaye yasya nityam devo hi shassavo vyat sita vimalatanur yogado yoga yuktaha yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankachakrasidharinam sahasrashirasam shvetam pranamami Patanjalim Shrimate Anantaya Nagarajaya namo namaha Asmadacharyebhya sarvebhyo namo namaha Om. Thank you so much, Srini ji. And actually my teacher, when I was studying with him, I studied with him for 14 years, Yogacharya Subramanian sir. In each and every class, we used to chant a standard set of verses, and we always used to conclude the session with the Nirvana Shatakam, which is composed by Adi Shankaracharya. So, and my teacher always used to remind me, Shankara was not just an intellectual. Of course, he's one of the most famous and most renowned teachers of the Vedanta philosophy. He was also a great yogi. And of course, he also wrote his own commentary on the Yoga Sutras. In fact, it's a two-level commentary. He wrote a commentary on Sage Vyasa's commentary on the Yoga Sutras. So, two-layer commentary.
It's one of the Shankara.
Yes. And he also had many siddhis, many yogic powers as a result of practicing yoga, such as the siddhi of exiting the body and occupying another body. So some of these powers are described in the Yoga Sutra. So it's very interesting. So Shankara was a great yogi and also a great intellectual. And of course, we are very grateful. Even after thousands of years, his teachings are still fresh. And it's amazing the contribution that he has done.
So such a beautiful thing in the Nirvana Shatakam. And of course, you know, there are, you know, all the different dimensions of, sometimes I equate Nirvana Shatakam to the journey towards zero, where you have to negate all the things that you know. And Nirvana Shatakam says that, you know, you have to negate everything that you know of, from mano, buddhi, ahankara, everything, and that's when you become the one, the shivoham. So sometimes I, equate that to kind of the 10. But what a beautiful opening! And so in your practice, you always ended with Nirvana Shatakam. As a kid, what did Nirvana Shatakam meant to you when you were growing up?
So in my initial few years, when I was not yet aware of the meaning, it still had a very big impact on me because the melody was so beautiful. My teacher was also a great musician. He was a Carnatic singer, and he was a very accomplished artist. So he used to sing so beautifully, and he used to select various ragas. But in general, he used to pick one of the majestic ragas called Darbari Kannada. And in that, he used to chant the Nirvana Shatakam. Let me just sing one line of it, how it sounds, the Nirvana Shatakam. Mano bodhya hankara chittani naham na cha shrotra jihve na cha ghrana netre na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayu chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham.
Wow.
Just by listening to such a melodious chanting, my teacher used to sing it so beautifully. And especially at the end of the session, the mind is crystal clear and we awaken to this very beautiful melodious rendering of the Nirvana Shatakam. And it is only later on that I understood the meaning and the profundity of the meaning of these verses.
Wow, beautiful rendition. And I believe, at one time you and I discussed about, after I came back from Yogi Hari's ashram, that's where I was introduced to, in a formal way, the Darbari Kannada raga, and there are different things. And the way you sang it in that raga is just such a beautiful, beautiful melody. And I can see, like as kids, this kind of melody creates an environment of harmony and excellence within, and the joy, and then they can go and express it even without knowing the essence of the meaning, but being exposed to these ragas and the melody can definitely create an environment of excellence. And while we are on the subject, do you want to give a quick summary of the profoundness of the Nirvana Shatakam in your own words?
So as you mentioned earlier, Nirvana Shatakam is, I would say it's a very radical text where we negate what we think we know. One of the things that Patanjali says is we associate our identity with things we are not. For example, when we think of ourselves as the body, we are not the body, but many times we implicitly assume or we implicitly understand, we implicitly make the assumption that I am the body. To give an example, we say, I am hungry, but it's not true, right? The body is experiencing hunger. And perhaps the true statement would be, my mind is reporting that the body is experiencing hunger. See? Because sometimes when the mind is distracted, even if the body is hungry, we don't know it. So first of all, the body should be in that state of hunger. It's seeking nutrition and it is communicating to the mind, and the mind should report to us. It should appear as a pratyaya. Pratyaya is a technical word that is used in the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. What pratyaya is, when there is a chitta vritti, when there's activity in the chitta or the mind, and when the light of awareness shines on it. So illuminating this vritti and the scenery it creates in the mind is called pratyaya. So when the pratyaya of hunger appears in the mind, that means the mind is reporting that there is hunger in the body. So for example, the Ramana Maharishi would state like that, my mind is reporting that the body is hungry. He will never say I am hungry, because he was in such a deep conviction that I am not the body, that even inadvertently he will not say, I am hungry, please give me something to eat. So, and many times we do in so many other situations. I am angry, for example. We associate a condition of the mind. I am angry. But truly, is my identity anger or is my identity hunger? So, and many times we also associate our identity with our roles and responsibilities that we play in our life. For example, if we go to a social situation, somebody asks, who are you? And we say, oh, I'm a engineer or a doctor, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I am a brother, sister. Like that, we talk about our roles and responsibilities. Perhaps we should say, Shivo Ham Shivo, I am the divine. So perhaps that is the most accurate answer. But of course, in a practical situation, we can be aware, okay, what I'm expressing is just the roles that I play in this drama of life. But that awareness is good to have. So coming back to the Nirvana Shatakam, it is a very radical teaching, especially when we listen to the meaning for the first time. Because sometimes we keep reading the meaning and it's okay, we take it for granted. But imagine if somebody tells for the first time, we hear from somebody for the first time that you're not the body. Then, oh my God, all this while I've been thinking I'm the body and I'm running after things to make this entity comfortable. And now you're telling me that I'm not the body. Right? For example, we acquire a lot of materials and acquisitions to keep the body comfortable. And finally, we end up being comfortably unhappy, right? Body is comfortable, but yet there is some dissatisfaction. So the answer to the question, who am I, which is what the Nirvana Shatakam talks about, it gives us a very profound insight by peeling the layers of who I am not. I'm not the body. I'm not the manas. I'm not the buddhya. I'm not the ahankara. I'm not the food that I'm eating. I'm not a consumer. Like that, it gives a whole lot of layers of peeling. And finally, what is left reveals itself. We don't even have to state it. It reveals itself. And step by step, he leads us to this understanding. That is the greatness of Shankara.
What a beautiful way that you said. And I'm going to do a separate session on Nirvana Shatakam, just with you. And it's a beautiful satsang. Rajesh, welcome. Welcome. And while you were talking about the definition of the mind, and then we're going to jump into Patanjali and the yoga and asana, and the way you explain the pratyahara, and the way I'm going to practice saying this, my mind is reporting that that mind is reporting that it's feeling hunger or something that I thought. But literally, that's what if you look at your vehicle, that's what the fuel gauge tells you. It is like hey, I need fuel tank is empty, right? So that's what mind is, like the fuel gauge. It's basically is like you're putting light on it. So if you were to literally disassociate ourselves as a vehicle, and then these are all the gauges, anger, this and all the different gauges, then I think we can maintain some level of disconnect. Now, speaking of the body, and today we wanted to talk about one of the probably the most well-known and perhaps even the most important limbs. And I've come to a full circle, and I want to inquire this with you. I've come to inquire this with you, which is the asana, one of the limbs. And the thing is, if you would want to explain a little bit about the word asana, what it actually means. And the thing that I would want you to provide some kind of light is, on one hand, Patanjali says that this is one of the 8 with limited focus. And but if you look at some of the other scriptures like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, where they kind of use asana as a way to get to the final samadhi, or at least that's my interpretation of it. So if you want to start with how should we interpret asana? What is the true meaning of asana, and how should we interpret it?
So you're right, Srini ji. In the Yoga Sutras, as most of the audience here knows, Patanjali devotes only 3 sutras out of 195 on asanas. So the rest of the Yoga Sutras are on other topics, like the mechanics of the mind and the system of the self, and the system of prana, the anatomy of the subtle body, and so forth. So as far as the word asana itself is concerned, asanam literally means a seat. Asanam. For example, a king sits in the simhasanam, so sitting on a seat. And if we actually look at the root word of asanam, asti, as means to be. So asana helps us to be in a place where we can be more introspective, or we can go deeper in meditation. We want to park the body so that it is there and allow us to be, rather than being engaged in extroverted activities. We are allowing ourselves to be. For example, we call ourselves human being. We are not human doings, right? You might have heard this before.
Yeah.
We constantly keep doing things, but from time to time, it is a good idea to stop the doing and just to be. Be true to our name, human being. Take some time to just be. And the role of asanas is so that we do not get caught up in the torments, the discomforts, the heaviness of the body. All the practices we do in asanas is so that we can transcend the body. We can forget the body. It is like you park your car and then look at the scenery. You walk along the mountains and then look at the scenery, enjoy the scenery, and then come back to your car. Like that, we park the body, and then in the next practices, that is meditation, we explore the inner scenery, and then we come back to the car. But when we are enjoying the inner scenery, if we are constantly thinking about the car, if the body is constantly distracting us, then we don't enjoy that scenery. We don't go deep in meditation or deep relaxation. So the purpose of asanas is so that we can forget the body. So one of the benefits of asanas in the Hatha Yoga Pratipika it mentions is angalaghavam. Angalaghavam means lightness of the body. The body feels so light that we forget it. We forget the body. In fact, one of the definition of health is if you forget your body, you are healthy, right? Only when there is some discomfort, we constantly remember the body. For example, if you have a headache, we constantly remind ourselves of our head. It's vying for our attention all the time. Whereas when the head is healthy, we don't constantly keep reminding ourselves, I have a head, I have a head, I have a head, I have a left big toe, I have a pinky finger. We don't constantly remind ourselves. It is there. If it is healthy, we forget it. So that is a definition. Videha means we forget the body. Bhava pratyayo videha prakriti layanam is a sutra that Patanjali says. Bhava pratyayo videha means we transcend the body. And that is when prakriti laya happens. You forget the prakriti. You dissolve the prakriti. It's like salt dissolving in water and disappears. Like that, the body disappears from the vantage point of your experience. It is there, but you forget it. And that is what asanas help us to do, to park the body so we do not get trapped by the concerns and the discomforts of the body.
This is a beautiful, beautiful expression, the videha. And one thing, when Rajesh was there in our previous session, could we extrapolate this to a real world scenario? Like, for example, like what Rajesh said, like a posture. Like, for example, if a kid is in a classroom, and if I want to pay attention, can I say it's like I need to be in asana so that my body doesn't become an obstacle for my learning. And prakriti layanam, I become one. I immersive in the process of learning. Can we say that we can be in asana in every situation of life? And Rajesh, is that your interpretation of the posture? Sorry, you're on mute, Rajesh. Rajesh, you're on mute. We can't hear you. Sorry.
Hold on one second.
Okay, now we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking to myself. So when Sriramji was explaining about asana, I said, how is it in real world? How is it manifested in terms of titles, where the roles they play, and then how they take it to their head and say sometimes, you're playing a role and then you think you have all the power. Suddenly they retire and then they say, oh, that power was only because of the role. So they take it to their head unnecessarily and then they suffer, knowing that nothing is permanent. So I was thinking that they have to remember it. Even outside world, when they are acting with power, they should always think about serving rather than trying to be served.
See, and then in the time of an asana, and that's a fantastic thing. So you're just performing the role, and then don't take it into your head and make that be your permanent identity, right?
Correct.
So that's a fantastic thing. So coming to this asana thing, is Shriramji, could we say that in every situation that you do, whether you're going to the meeting or a classroom or anything, do we need to aspire to be in the state of to be? So do you want to explain on that kind of a thing?
In fact, that's a very beautiful interpretation. The posture, what is your mental posture? It's not just the physical posture, but how we allow the vantage point from which we experience and express in that situation. The posture, the posturing, and that is also another way to think about it. And also, you gave the example of students sitting in a class. And here we can clearly see the example of how the physical posture helps with the learning experience. For example, if you go to a classroom, if you look at all the students there with a slouched back, you can immediately guess that perhaps they are bored, right? When they are enthusiastic, when the prana is moving brisk in the system, when their mind is alert, and they're enjoying the learning experience, it will also reflect in the body. There is Sthiram and Sukham, Sthira Sukham Asanam. So the experience of stability in the body, perhaps they are keeping the spine straight, or I should say the neutral position, where they are not slouching forwards. The spine is Samam Kaya Shirogrivam Dharayan Achalam Sthiraha, is what Bhagavad Gita says. Samam Kaya Shiras Ugrivam. That means the trunk of the body, head and the neck are all aligned in the same axis. Such is the posture that is most conducive for alertness in the mind. So that is why in the practice of yoga, the seated posture, where we align this entire spine in a single axis, in a vertical axis, is so emphasized for deep meditation to happen, because the prana is able to flow more brisk. All the 7 chakras are located along the spine, and especially when you are driving on a freeway, for example, if the freeway is just straight, you can go really fast. Whereas if there are lots of twists and turns, you cannot go very fast. Like that, you want the prana to go freely along the spine. You want a nice straight highway there. So along the 3 main nadis, Sushumna, Ida, and Pingala, if it's crooked, if there are lots of twists and turns, then the prana is perhaps not moving so brisk in the body. So our posture affects the quality of the mind, the quality of our awareness, and the intensity of the prana. Is it moving in a brisk manner, or is it moving in a sluggish manner? It will be reflected in the body.
That's a beautiful thing. So, I mean, that analogy of the freeway, so it's like, everybody in whatever the situation that we are in, particularly in the classrooms, adjust your posture or align your posture so that, you can enjoy the process of learning or get the most out of your process of learning. So, and the Patanjali's way of asana, want to talk about, you mentioned one sutra, Sthiram Sukham Asanam. So you want to talk about the role of asana as Patanjali defined it in the yoga process?
So Patanjali devotes 3 sutras on asanas, and I think we have discussed this before in one of the previous sessions. So a quick summary. The definition of yogasana is Sthira Sukham Asanam, stability and comfort when they are together. When the body posture is stable and the body is in a place of comfort, Sukham, then you can declare that the body is in an asana. Otherwise, it's not an asana. Perhaps the body is in a couch potato, situation. So if you want the body to be in an asanam, both should be there. The body should be stable, sthiram, and it should be comfortable, sukham. And one of the interpretation that I also learned recently from one of the previous sessions is sthira sukham is sustainable sukham. The sukham that is experienced is sustainable. For example, if we are a couch potato, there is no sthiram there. And perhaps initially there is some sukham when we just lie down on the sofa and be a couch potato. For the first few minutes, there is a lot of sukham. Comfort is there. But after about 10 or 15 minutes, there is some aching, backache and knee pain and so forth. That sukham is not sustained. So in order to sustain that sukham, that is sthira sukham, sustainable sukham, the postures that will help us achieve that can also be interpreted as asanas. So why do we need this? Because we want to keep this posture for a long time when we enjoy the inner scenery in practices such as meditation. That's why we need a sthira sukham. The body should be stable and comfortable. And all the circus that we do in the name of asanas have this one objective, so that for a sustained period of time, the body can be stable and comfortable and we can go and enjoy the inner scenery. So that is sthira sukham asanam. And once we are practicing an asana, what should we do? We bring the stability and comfort. The body is stable, the body is comfortable. And then what do? Patanjali talks about prayatna shaitilya. Prayatna shaitilya ananta samapatibhyam. Prayatna means effort. So whenever we do a new posture, initially there is some struggle or some effort. And that effort is necessary because we are trying to expand our comfort zone. That is some struggle that is needed. But with regular practice, that effort becomes effortless. It becomes easy for the body. We are developing muscle memory. We are developing agility, flexibility. We are helping the body to learn the new posture. And this is the shaitilya process. So prayatna and then shaitilya. Prayatna, shaitilya. So it's like a cyclic thing. In other words, there is effort, relaxation. Effort, relaxation. Very similar to the process of cyclic meditation. Many of us here practice the cyclic laye sambodhayet chittam vikshiptam shamayet punaha sakashayam vijaniyat samapraptam na chalayet. That means whenever there is agitation, relax. Whenever you are too relaxed and you become a couch potato, give some activity, put some effort. So like this, there is a cycle, prayatna, shaitilya, prayatna, shaitilya. And why do we do this? It is like when we simply relax like a couch potato, perhaps our body is in a local minimum, to use like a technical jargon, body is sitting in a local minimum. But if you want a deeper space of relaxation, you want to put some energy to come out of that hump and settle down into a deeper place of relaxation. There is a lower energy expenditure there. So in order to find that global minimum where the body expends the least amount of energy, you need to find that place. You need some energy to come out of where we are stuck in. We are stuck in a local minimum. And then you have to put some effort to get out of that local minimum and find your way into the global minimum. So this cycle, step by step of prayatna, shaitilya, will allow us to this ananta samapatti. That means an infinite experience of bliss. And when that happens, the benefits of the asanas, they are experienced in the body and mind. Tato dvandvan abhigataha, all the conflicts in the body, such as the conflicted flow of prana, etc., they get resolved. And there is a unity in the body. The whole body functions as one organic unit. Right now, there is a lot of conflicts in the system. In fact, Bhagavad Gita says, this body is a kshetram. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetramiti abhidiyate, is what Krishna says. Idam shariram, this body is the field, the kshetram. And when there is a lot of conflicts in the body, this kshetram becomes a kurukshetram, where there is a huge war that is raging. Right? For example, the tongue and the body's intelligence. That's a constant fight going on. The cells of the body seek nutrition. Oh, please give me nutritious food. The tongue says, no, 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 don't listen to the body, listen to me. Give me some tasty food, right? And there is a constant battle, not just a battle, it's a huge war, like a world war happening in this body. And how do we resolve it? You see, many times we take one side or the other. Okay, I want to be disciplined. I'm going to listen only to the body. I'm not going to listen to the tongue because I know it is better to eat nutritious food. Or sometimes we go to the opposite extreme and go on a binge eating of junk food. Today is Sunday, so let me forget about the body. Let me listen to the tongue for one day, and then this constant battle keeps going on. But Patanjali offers a win-win solution. With the continued practice of asanas, what happens is this fight gets resolved. There is no longer the dvandva, the conflicts in the system, and there is a oneness, the unity that happens. The tongue becomes a team member of the body. What the body wants and what the tongue wants are one and the same. Nutritious food start tasting good. Nutritious food and delicious food become one and the same. When that happens, we can trust the tongue. Now we cannot trust the tongue, right? Because the tongue says, give me this, and then we have to consult our diet books. Where is it good or bad? And different diet books have different dvandvas. There is conflict there also. Some books say ghee is good, some books say no, fat is not good, some books say carbohydrates is bad. So who do you trust? Patanjali says, take the guidance straight from the horse's mouth, or rather from your own mouth, from your tongue. When the tongue is aligned with its body's intelligence, when the dvandva has been resolved, then we can trust the team members. All of them have the aligned vision. Like when there's a big team, like in an organization, everyone has the same goal. There is no conflict of interest. You see? So all these conflicts get resolved, and that is the benefit that the asana provides. And that's amazing. All these dvandvas, these conflicts, when they dissolve, there is experience of oneness, unity. I am not a divided person. I'm not two people that are fighting a war, but there is one person here, and that's a very beautiful experience.
Wow, wow. What a beautiful thing. So the asanas can help you be one with yourself, to be. And like what we said, right? And because we don't have that inner intelligence or intuition, we always have to look at the nutrition label. We are always, consulting, other faculties outside to know what is right, what is not right. And then, there is so much dvandva. But then, once you start, doing this asana, prayatna satilya, but that ananta patibhyam, you basically know it. Your intuition guides you. So that's a beautiful thing. So on that note, as we continue to practice this asana, so the dvandvas and the conflicts get resolved, and you become one with yourself, and your intuition gets heightened up. So in other words, are you saying that the regular practice of asana in the to be will also be one mechanism where you can actually get the ultimate benefit of the entire asana, like the entire Ashtanga yoga? Can we use the asana practice as a guiding light for all the other limbs?
Yes, that's perfectly stated. In fact, Ashtanga yoga, anga means limbs. So Ashtanga yoga, all the limbs of the body, for example, when the body is growing from a baby, from an infant to adulthood, all the angas of the body, the arms, legs, they grow simultaneously, right? It is not that the right arm grows first fully and then the left arm grows next. It is not like one limb is mature. Asanas, I'm going to perfect that, and then I will do pranayama. It's not like that at all. So all the angas simultaneously grow together. That's what makes the practice of yoga holistic. And each of these angas have their own very unique benefits. To give a glimpse of how they all complement each other, we just saw, for example, that asanas remove the conflict. So there are different team members of the body, all the 200 trillion cells of the body, and all various tissues, organs, and systems of functions like digestion, respiration, etc. So when there is a cohesive unity that happens, the team members are all aligned. But you not only need alignment, you want your team members to be energized. You see, they should experience vitality. That is given by pranayama. You see, if all team members are aligned, but they're all lazy, I mean, we have really not achieved the ultimate objective, right? They can all be aligned, but if they are not in their highest functioning, their peak performance, then we still have some ways to go. So pranayama gives that, it energizes the whole system. Now imagine if we don't practice asanas, if we simply practice pranayama, what happens is you are energizing both parties. You are just strengthening the conflict. You empower both sides of the war, and anger becomes rage now. You see, in fact, the Sanskrit word rajas and the English word rage, they come from the same root. So asanas reduce rajoguna. The dvandvas, the conflicts that happen, is an offshoot of rajoguna. Asanas reduce rajoguna. Pranayama reduces tamoguna, so that the energy, the light, the exuberance can fill the body and mind, the inner exuberance, prakasha. Tatah kshiyate prakasha avaranam. That is Sutra 1, pranayama. So the point here is we need both. In fact, we need all 8 limbs of yoga. It's like for a chair to stand, you need all 4 legs. You cannot stand on only one leg. So with just asanas, we cannot support the practice of yoga. We need all of these limbs to function together, and they complement each other so beautifully. And as I've said before, the power of yoga comes from this combination. They work in synergy. The combination of all these practices, the 8 limbs of yoga, the combination is much more powerful than the sum of its parts. It's like 1 + 1 = 3. Buy 2, get 1 free. You can say it in many words. You see, if you do practice of asanas and pranayama together, that means the benefits you get is much more than the sum of the benefits of just doing asanas and just doing pranayama. There's something more that we get.
This is an interesting thing, and like how one limb influences and amplifies the power of the other limbs. And one thing that I've not done, but I'm slowly exploring this aspect, but I would love for you to provide the light, where just take the asana practice, if we can say, is like, and if you can go through each one of the limbs, how does asana help strengthen your Yama limb? How does asana strengthen your Niyama limb? And something that at one time in our discussion, it says like asanas are designed such that for example, it improves concentration, dharana, like the balancing postures. So I think if you could quickly go through each one of the limbs and how asana plays a role in strengthening the other limb. Like for example, if you were to go through all the 8 limbs and say one example in the Ashtanga Yoga. So
let's do that. I think it's really a great exercise to do that. Let's start with yamas first.
Yeah.
So of course there are 5 yamas. Let us pick one. Let's pick ahimsa. Ahimsa is one of the 5 yamas. In fact, it's the first discipline that Patanjali says. Ahimsa is the first of the 5 yamas. Now, when we practice asanas, remember that we don't want to torture the body. You see, ahimsa is part of the practice. Sometimes when people practice asanas with a ruthless determination to reach the goal, perhaps the body is not ready yet, but they see their neighbor in the Paschimottanasana, they're touching their toes and the head is reaching the knees, but they cannot do it yet. But if they have this ruthless determination to do it anyways, even if it tears my hamstrings, I'm going to do it. That is the opposite of ahimsa. It is himsa, right? We are not practicing yama in that situation. So when we listen to the body and when we take the guidance from the body, does it feel comfort? Is the sukham there? Just to make sure whether the body is expressing discomfort or whether it's experiencing comfort, sukham, dukkham. this distinction itself will help us practice ahimsa. And we need to discern this. For example, if the mind is extroverted while doing asanas, say we're watching TV also, that means we are not listening to the body, we are listening to something else outside. It is not yoga. It's maybe, you can call it another name. It is definitely beneficial perhaps because some exercise is happening to the body, but you cannot really call it yoga because union is not taking place. So when we listen to the body, when we become more sensitive to the signals that the body is sending, the body's intelligence is sending, and we use those cues to express ahimsa. Oh, there is discomfort here. Let me step back. That means we're honoring the body. We are respecting the body. In fact, the body is something very precious. We just began this session saying that I am not the body, right? It should not be misunderstood to mean that I should ignore the body or be indifferent to the body or hate that body. You see, it means I am not the body, but yet the body is very precious because it houses the self. Therefore, the body is a temple. It is a sacred place. This kshetram, in fact, in Sanskrit, kshetra is different holy places they call kshetram, where the divinity is very powerfully, you can feel the presence there. So this body houses the self, and therefore it is sacred. Although I'm not the body, it is serving me. And now it is my time here in this yoga mat to serve the body. Satu dirghakala nairantarya satkara asevitaha asevito dridabhumihi. I am now serving the body, seva. So with that spirit, we do the practice of asanas. So ahimsa and asanas, you can see how they are so intricately related, right? And let's take niyama. What are the 5 niyama? Shaucha, santosha, tapas, swadhyaya, ishvara pranidhanani, niyamaha. That is the sutra. We can take the example of tapas. What is tapas? Tapas is the willingness to go through short-term discomfort for the sake of long-term joy. We can define tapas that way. The literal meaning of tapas is heat. We are willing to go through the fire of discomfort for the sake of purification, etc. Patanjali gives the benefits of tapas. Kaya indriya siddhihi ashuddhikshaya tapasaha. Tapas purifies the system, it strengthens the system, and Vyasa, sage Vyasa in his commentary, he also says, when we do tapas, it allows the body and mind to be in a place where transformation, parinama, can happen very easily. It's like when you heat a metal, you can easily change its shape. You don't need a big hammer to bang the metal and change the shape. If you heat it, it's a little tap. You can shape the metal the way you want it. It becomes more malleable, right? Like that, in the place of tapas, when the body is in a place of tapas, when the heat is there in the system, and the heat comes from prana, it's infused with prana. That means we are able to shape the samskaras of the body and the mind. We are able to change our habits more easily. So how can we integrate tapas and asanas? For example, we wake up in the morning. Okay, look at the time. It's 4 a.m. Oh no, it is time to practice yoga, but I'm not ready for it. I want to sleep for half an hour more. If the mind is, caught up in this thoughts of resistance. Tapas means, okay, I am going to surmount this resistance. I'm going to wake up, jump out from this bed anyway. It is uncomfortable in this moment, but guess what? Half an hour into my yoga practice, I know I will feel much better. And indeed, that's the case, right? We are thankful that, okay, I stepped out of the bed. And with continued practice, what happens is, after 2 weeks or 4 weeks of practice, we are eagerly looking forward to it. We look at the time, wow, it's 3:59 a.m. Time to jump out of the bed. And we step into the yoga mat with full enthusiasm and determination. Bhagavad Gita says, Mukta Sangona Hamvadi, Dhriti Utsaha Samanvitaha. Dhriti with a determination and resolve, and Utsaha with enthusiasm. We do the practice of yoga. So initially it was tapas, but later on it becomes enjoyable, and we experience that in asana. In fact, prayatna shaitila. Prayatna is a tapas. Putting that effort and struggle is a tapas. Shaitilya, when we relax, we are enjoying the benefits of tapas. We are able to go to a deeper place of relaxation. For example, at the end of a yoga asana class, we feel so blissed out in the deep relaxation. DRT, for example, deep relaxation. We are in a deep, tranquil zone. If we did not practice asanas, if somebody says, okay, today I'm going to devote my full 60 minutes of yoga practice to Shavasana, if they make this decision because they want to be a couch potato, it's not a good idea because we don't usually feel deep relaxation just by lying down without doing any effort. So all this prayatna, that effort, led to that deep space of relaxation. It helped us achieve the global minimum that we talked about. In fact, Patanjali says very beautifully in one of the sutras, okay, I'll recall that sutra, it's not coming to my mind right now. So he says that in order to achieve deep, yeah, I remember it now. Virama pratyaya abhyasa purva samskara seshonyaha. Virama means resting, deep rest. Virama pratyaya, if you want the experience of deep rest. Abhyasa purva, we need to prepare by doing some practices, from some prior practices that help the deep relaxation to allow that into our experience. So that is how tapas helps in asanas. And what about pranayama? You know, when we practice asanas using ujjayi pranayama, what happens is the sthairiam, the sthirasukam, the sthiram, the stability automatically happens in the body. When we do deep breathing, especially in ujjayi breathing, the sthiram happens easily. In order to see how this takes place, the mechanism is very, very interesting. What is sthiram? We talked about sthira sukham asana, right? What is sthiram? Sthiram can be defined in many ways. What is stability of the system? And let me give two definitions. When the whole body has one organic unity, that means it is stable. For example, a chair is a stable object. You pull one leg of a chair and the whole chair moves along with it. So it's a stable object. Whereas a collection of objects, say you have a cup with lots of marbles in it. Now, that collection is not a very stable, because if you move one marble, it is not that the whole collection will move along with it. You see? So, for example, if I give the instruction in a yoga class, stretch the arms to the sides. And if the arms are loose and they're not stable, that means if somebody were to pull my arm, only the arm will move. The whole body doesn't move. That means it's not a stable posture. Whereas if I keep the arms stable and connected throughout the body, and there's organic unity there, it has one center of gravity. You see, the whole body has one center of gravity. It doesn't have multiple centers of gravity. It has one center of gravity. Then if you pull one arm, the whole body will move along with it. You see, that is stability. That is one definition of sthiram. Now, how does Ujjayi Pranayama help with that sthiram? It is very easy to see. You know, what happens is, let me give an analogy. If you think of a garden hose, where we used to bring water to the garden. So you connect one end to the tap, and then with the other end, you allow water to flow to the plants and the grass and all that. When you turn on the water, when the garden hose is nicely curled up, right? When the water starts flowing, it straightens out. You see, it immediately straightens out. Like that, when prana moves brisk in the system, the body, even though there is no sthiram there, suddenly the sthairiam will come. You see, the whole body becomes one organic unit. Suddenly it becomes energized with that prana, and it starts behaving like one organic unit. So sthiram automatically comes. I'd encourage all of us to see one video where this is very nicely experienced. You can look up the video on YouTube. It's called The Party Trick. The Party Trick. And this video is hosted by one of the authors of Yoga Anatomy. He wrote a book, Yoga Anatomy. His name is Leslie Kaminoff, and I have had the opportunity to do many yoga anatomy workshops with him, and he illustrates this very beautifully by doing Ujjayi, how the whole body comes together as one organic unit, and he gives an exercise there, and it's very fascinating to see that. It's a 5-minute video. Party Trick is the name of the video. So the point here is, with Ujjayi Pranayama, the asanas come naturally, the Shriram comes naturally. And here is one more thing. With Ujjayi breathing, the movements of the body also become graceful. For example, when we raise the arms up and down, we want the movements to reflect the quality of the breath. If we are doing haphazard movements of the body, jerky movements, then it is not conducive for a tranquil state of the mind. When we use Ujjayi Pranayama, what happens is the body cannot offer any jerky movements. It's like, some of the automatic door closers. If you see the mechanism, it uses air pressure. You cannot bang it very quickly. It will slowly come back and close itself because there's air pressure there. Same thing with Ujjayi Pranayama. We cannot offer jerky movements there. The body movements also become slow and graceful. So you see how breath and posture and breath and movements, they're also integrated. Asanas, pranayama, they help each other.
So pranayama actually allows you to have a more graceful entrance and exit of the vinyasa flow happens automatically, because of, and the other way, like what you also said is like, when you practice the asana, the physical practice, it also opens up the lungs, and that also aids the pranayama so that you can actually do the Ujjayi also, expands the lung capacity as well, right? So they're interlinked.
Exactly.
I think this is, there's a lot more. So continuing on the journey, now let's look at the Dharana.
So the next is Pratyahara. After the practice of pranayama, is Pratyahara. Pratyahara means we shut off our attention to the outside world. We don't get distracted by what the senses are presenting to us. And it happens easily in asanas because when we do asana, especially when we bring the body to the boundary of the comfort zone, then we cannot keep thinking about outside. We need to keep listening to the body. Or for example, we are doing a balancing posture. You gave the example of how it benefits the dharana, the focus and concentration. It also benefits pratyahara. Because when you are standing on one leg and suddenly in the cell phone, you hear some message. We have all these WMDs, right? Weapons of mass distractions. All these gadgets and gizmos making noise all the time, distracting our experience. So in asanas, we have to ignore that, especially when we are doing an asana that requires our full focus and attention. That means those distractions, we are not getting swayed away by that. It helps us in our pratyahara practice as well. And for example, when we practice asanas, one of the things that will help for a more meditative experience of asanas is to close our eyes. And of course, this has to be done based on the posture. In a balancing postures, perhaps especially in the beginning stages, it's a good idea to open the eyes to fix the gaze and steady the balance. But the point is, if you want a deeper experience of a more introspective experience of asanas, closing the eyes, that itself shuts off the consumption of the sight, consumption of what we see. We are shutting it off. It's like doing a little Shanmukhi mudra there, closing the eyes. So we are not distracted by what is going on outside, in the outside world. So that's how it helps the pratyahara. And dharana we already saw. Balancing postures help with focusing the mind. We need that focus in order to maintain the balance of the body. And how does it help meditation? We already saw that before. We allow the body to park itself so that we transcend the body. We don't get trapped by the concerns of the body. And in fact, most of the postures that are mentioned in classic yoga texts are meditative postures, like Padmasana, Siddhasana, Vajrasana, Virasana, like that, Bhadrasana. So all these postures help with minimum expenditure of effort in the body, so that we are conserving energy rather than consuming energy. We are conserving that energy, and all the energy can allow the mind to come up into this higher and higher space of awareness. We are uplifting the quality of awareness. So that's how it helps meditation. And by the way, the reverse is also true. With more meditation, the body also becomes more flexible and we are able to do asanas better. Because when we meditate, the muscles also relax and the body feels more light. We are able to do asanas more easily. So, and the last limb of Ashtanga Yoga, Samadhi. Samadhi experience as well, when the body is perfectly centered, perfectly situated, that samatvam automatically happens. It's a automatic experience. And there are many postures where we intentionally bring samatvam to the physical body. For example, centering the body so that both feet carry equal body weight. How does it feel when the body is perfectly balanced? Sometimes we don't know that we are tilting our body weight on one side rather than the other. Slight shift from equilibrium. When we bring the equilibrium to the body, the mind also comes to a place of equilibrium, and it's easier to step into the experience of samadhi. So all these 8 limbs are so nicely interconnected.
What a beautiful journey. So one big takeaway that I've had, or something that I'm exploring or experiencing, is the 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes that you spend every day on your asana practice could be the greatest opportunities to strengthen other limbs. And like we said, like what Patanjali said, and as well as Shriram said, that's a doorway for Ananta Samapatibhyam. There's so much to be gained in terms of improving our pranayama, your Yama niyamas, and Pratyahara, Dharana. So there is infinite experience to be realized in our physical practice, not just the mere getting the alignment right, or the back pain go away and all that stuff. Those are the trinkets, perhaps. Those are the trinkets, but that 60 minutes or whatever the time that we spend in the physical practice will be the doorway to realizing the full infinity. So I'm super fascinated with this. In fact, one of the things that I'm actually trying to explore is, after I get into one of the postures, I'm trying to bring my awareness to every inch of the body and to be one with that, and then to see if I can hold and be one with everything, because most of the time I'm not aware of every inch of my own body. And gradually trying to scan the body and then be one with everything in the posture, it seems to create a better experience of oneness and improve my concentration and other elements. And as you said, as you rightly pointed out, yeah, go ahead.
In fact, classic yoga texts talk about this practice, and we can call it yoga nidra, or the deep relaxation, taking the awareness to various body parts. Now, our awareness has the power to direct prana. For example, in deep relaxation, when we become aware, say, of the heart center, that means we are allowing more prana to go there. There is, our awareness has the power to direct prana there. And in some classic yoga texts, for example, there is a text called Yoga Yajnavalkya. Yoga Yajnavalkya. It gives a list of 18 points on the body where you allow the mind to scan systematically from one part to the next part. 18 points. Marmasthanam, they are called Marmasthana. Marma means secret spots in the body. They're like highway intersections. There are lots of prana can be steered around it. Very important junctions in the nadis, in the subtle body. So it prescribes 18 points, and if you have more time for the yoga nidra practice, 108 points are described like that. So yogis have explored so much in detail, become so sensitive to the body, and found out what are these important points, and that recipe is still with us now. So it's amazing how detailed and meticulous this system of yoga is.
It's a very fascinating field, and I think this is something that I basically realizing is, you can actually start with, something that Shriramji, you talked about, even in the Dhyana, you can actually have a focused meditation or one-pointed meditation, and then later on it becomes a diffusive meditation where you can actually bring the entire into your awareness. And so even with the asana, while we can first start with a focus one point, but gradually you can expand the awareness to the more things, so that the infinite becomes part of your awareness. That's one way of using the asana to actually build that experience of diffusive meditation. And that's how perhaps you go from one pointedness to end pointedness, and that's how you become infinite. So any other closing thoughts? And I know we have more things to explore on this important journey of the asana. And like you said, when you talked about where it's not just the trinkets, the back pain or something, but there is so much more wisdom and excellence to be explored and experienced with the asana practice. So all that we need to do is be more aware when we are in a posture.
Yes. In fact, one more key element of yoga asana is the role the breath plays. We already looked at how pranayama is tied to it, and we saw the example of the ujjayi breath. In the system of vinyasa krama, which is what I practice every day, so in the vinyasa krama system, the main focus is actually on the breath. So we are sensitive to the sensations in the body, yes, but equally or even more important perhaps is the quality of the breathing. So how do you know, for example, that the body is in a place of sukham? And this is especially important for yoga teachers. For example, when they're leading a class, and perhaps we guide the students to say, listen to your body. If there's pain or extreme discomfort, step back. Like that, we give these words of caution, not to exert beyond the zone of comfort. But sometimes, as I mentioned before, some participants may feel the urge to put in more effort, even going against the wisdom of the body. Right? Ruthless determination to catch the toes, come what may, even if it injures the body. I'm going to do it today. If such determination is there, what happens is sometimes they can flash a smile on the face, even though they're struggling with it. There's pain they're experiencing, but they're faking a smile. So how do you know? How does the teacher know? Or how does the practitioner themselves know that there is no sukham here? And the answer is the breath. Because we can fake a smile, but we cannot fake the smooth movement of the breath. The breath never lies. You see, the satyam, the breath reflects the truth. So listening to the breath, is the breath struggling? Is the breath going haphazard? Is it a smooth, unhurried, easy flow of the breath that reflects sukham? Whereas if there's haphazard flow of the breath while doing a posture, that means the sukham is no longer there. Perhaps they have to step back. So using the breath as an indicator to listen to the body, to judge the quality of the yoga posture is also equally important.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we've exceeded our time. There are a couple of things that the one closing thought for me is, Shriram, thank you so much for blessing us with wisdom. And as you were explaining, the thought that occurred to me is, we as humans are blessed with this wonderful vessel, the gift to house the isha or the self. And then we also have this wisdom of yoga asana to use this body to be within the self. So let's all take to the practice of the yoga journey to make the most out of the investment, perhaps the God gave us in giving us this beautiful vessel and the body and all this knowledge. And one other announcement is next week, Shriramji is going to be with Ekaji, is going to be in Dallas, Texas, in Frisco, Texas, visiting our Youth Excellence Center. I'm super delighted, looking forward to having Shriramji's presence here. So if you live in in the Dallas area, please come join us, for the one-day retreat, and we're going to share that information. Or if you want to participate in online, you also have the same Zoom session that you can attend. Next Saturday evening, we are doing evening from 6 p.m. Central to about 9 p.m. We are doing a special Satsang retreat where Shriramji is giving a fantastic talk on the yoga for 3 bodies. And then we'll also have some Nada Yoga and some beautiful satsangs. And then in the morning, we have Vinyasa Krama workshop of Pranayama and all this stuff. So we're going to share some of those details. If you're interested, please join us. And it'll be such a celebration, whether you are in person or remote. So that's all we have, and then we'll continue. We'll resume the Patanjali Yoga Sutra and Applied Yoga Philosophy from the following week. Next week we have the special one day retreat with Ekaji and Shriramji. That's I'm very much looking forward to. I'm sure so as many of you. And with that, everybody, please close your eyes. Take a deep breath and exhale. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Fantastic. I know there are a few questions on the chat. We'll cover them in the follow-on sessions. And once again, have a wonderful evening and hope to see you all in the Ekashri Schools of Yoga one-day yoga retreat next Saturday. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk again.
Thank you. Thank you, Shriramji. Thanks.
Thank you. Namaste.